Like most little girls, when I was younger, I was obsessed with Disney princesses and their happily ever after. I remember my mother reading me stories of the princesses every night before bedtime. Fairy tales have a way of making you forget everything going on around you. However, I knew better than to actually believe in them because real life didn't actually begin with once upon a time and it never ended, and they lived happily ever after. But they were just so much fun to watch and read about. Experiencing life and its ups and downs definitely proved that fairy tale endings weren't just being handed out. Until one day, I met the most amazing man at the airport when I was headed out of town to visit some friends. We sat next to each other at the bar, waiting on our flights to take off. As we talked, I found out that we lived just 5 minutes away from each other and shared so many common interests. I wondered, was this meant to be? We dated, became extremely close, and even fell in love. I knew that he was the one I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. He finally popped the question. It was Christmas night and I was overwhelmed with joy. Of course I said yes. I couldn't wait to tell my family and friends. Everyone was so happy for us, but as you know, the words of wisdom started flowing in as people learned of our engagement. We were told how difficult marriage would be, that we may not always like each other, and that no matter how hard it may seem, we should always find a way to make it work. As I started the wedding planning, I noticed people kept telling me that they barely remembered their own wedding day because it all happened so quickly. They told me to enjoy every moment and not to overthink any details. After all, this was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, and I was determined not to let this happen to me. I remember our wedding day like it was yesterday. I can recount every single second of the day. I woke up bright and early on Saturday, October 19th, 2013. I had butterflies in my stomach and was ready to tackle a busy day. I started off by running all of my last-minute errands, like getting my hair and nails done. Once those were all finished, it was time to meet all of my girls back at the hotel to start getting dressed. I was having a blast with my girls, getting ready for the wedding until I realized I was missing my vows. I felt like I spent the past year writing, rewriting, and perfecting them. How could I possibly not notice my vows were missing until an hour before the ceremony was to begin? I knew I had to quickly write new vows in hopes that they would be as perfect as the original ones. They ended up being better. They were so raw, filled with love, and written with so much emotion. It was time for the wedding to start. I slowly walked down to the ceremony area. My father was waiting for me in the hall, and I could tell his eyes were starting to water. He gave me a huge bear hug and told me how proud of me he was. As the music began, we made our way down the aisle, where a handsome man was waiting for me. I stopped and took a moment to embrace the beautiful scenery. I knew that everyone there could feel the love in the air. When it was time to read our vows, my husband and I both became very emotional. It was such an overwhelming feeling to finally hear what we wrote for each other. We promised to remain best friends, to always support one another, and to always uplift the other one in moments of crisis. He even promised to watch some of my girly TV shows, and I promised to watch more football with him. Our vows to each other were perfect, and they were so fitting for our relationship. Once the ceremony was over and the reception started, I grabbed my husband's hand and sat at a table in the corner. I wanted to take this opportunity to take a step back and appreciate everything that was going on. We adored the beautiful flowers, could smell the delicious food, watched the two families come together, and we even joked about how much cake we would shove into each other's faces. It was the moment we needed to ensure we would remember every last detail of our wedding. As cliche as it may sound, it really was the happiest day of my life. And even in this world full of crazy, I know that I found my Prince Charming. We know it won't be easy and that we will have to work very hard for our happily ever after.